Hello once again, and today let's go and talk dimensions. Dimensions are very easy to work with, and they're normally set as a default for whenever you want to use them, but they can be changed. Here on this desktop of mine, you're seeing that I've got dimensions only of fixtures. Fixtures are walls, doors, windows, that type of thing. Well, whenever you want to break the default, and I will come back to default in a moment, they're held up in the Annotation tab. If I click on Annotate, it's as simple as this. The dimensions are controlled in this area, the item setting, and you can see with these tick box that I currently have only fixtures. That was my default, and I will show you default settings a little bit later on. If I choose first of all base and then wall, and you can see they're being added. Because really, if you think about dimensions only need to be added to the person that's receiving that floor plan that they actually concern, perhaps a fitter, electrician, perhaps a tiler, but probably not the individual retail customer. So they're in here turning them on or off to your heart's desired. They can be manipulated at any time. And if when you turn on perhaps the base units, what you'll find also in this area, if you've chosen gap dimensions as well, that the gaps will be shown here. For instance, this gap across there is showing that gap to the tall fridge freezer, as well as individuals starting and stopping point of the door. So gaps are good to have turned on within the default area. And one of the other things that you can do to help yourself is in the initial rail gaps and subsequent gaps. By default they're set at 200 mil, and that means from there to there is 200, 200 and 200 all the way through. Well, I can actually on this occasion tab down and make them both 150 mil, pressing enter on the keyboard, and what you'll find is that they do get closer and making the floor plan marginally bigger. But there are more things we can do. First of all, we can look at rail end styles. Rail ends are these little areas here, and a rail end style could be anything at all. You can see my default that I've set up in here is that oblique line. Well, we could look at a different setting. We can even go on to solid arrows. Looks a bit too busy for me, so I'm just coming in here and choosing whatever else I want to do, and I can make them work however or whenever. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that they can change from the default at any time. But there's something stronger we can do here. This button, align rail values. Watch these verticals. Over here, they're actually crossing over each other. But if I turn on align rail values, they actually line up vertically and now can be all read independently. So that is your dimensioning tool. And let's now, while we're here, let's go and talk annotation. Annotation's held here on the same tab as Annotate, and a little drop down comes up, and here I've got none. Well, I could choose a unit name. There's the unit name. For instance, order codes. Generally order codes are more often indicating left or right hand hung, and we can also come in here and choose numeric by type and position. So now if I go and choose to, I can now indicate here the legend. Now remember, the legend is only read when it's printed out on a piece of paper. And the first thing we need to do is find out whether by default on the viewing tab, whether we've got the option of seeing the printed product. And here I'm just going to choose to display that list. so that when I come up to the File tab, go to Print, there is my legend showing on my floor plan. Now let's go and look at defaults. So at the moment I've made these manually, but defaults in terms of dimensions and also annotations, they're found in the area here called options. And options is an alphabetical list of what you can do to your software to make it default each and every time. So annotation. Annotation says I'm going to, in plan view, always have a unit name displayed when I boot up a new design. But in elevation, I'm not going to have anything. I can also choose the default arrow in here and also any particular font that I want to make a default. And also in auto dimensions it says I will automatically dimension fixtures as and when. So here I've decided my default is going to be used as a fixture. I could have made that base and wall, and every design that I choose is going to have those dimensions turned on, or I could simply say no, don't bother with anything. I personally like my walls, windows and doors dimensions so that I can check the accuracy of my drawing at that stage. Also things like auto features. Here we can automatically have cornice, pelmet, plinth, worktops being added into the auto features. If I don't feel that cornice and pelmet are going to be used often enough, I can make those a default now not to have them. So you can see there's a whole host of things in this area that you can alter and make your new default value. Just to mention that when you do have a default, when you go to annotate, you can manually override them at any time. Further, there's one other super button in here. Whenever you want to, if you want to print out a floor plan, you can simply hide them all. Much bigger floor plan, maybe that's the print that you want to give to your client. Who knows? Hide them, click them, and there they are, all done and dusted. Dimensions made very, very easy. The other thing you can do in here is to annotate. Annotate by the unit name, by the order code, or you can come in here and say numeric, by type, by manufacturer, position or manufacturing position. You'll find more about this in our other YouTube channel, the differences between version 3 and 4. Do look out for it. And I've hoped you've enjoyed this session. It's all about defaults and what you choose to use as your default or to manually override.